Face front, true believers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And welcome to 60 Years of the Fantastic Four, a cinematic retrospective. All right, guys. So, yeah, 60 years. 60 years, big number. You know, Dragon, it's kind of funny because I feel like it's one of those weird numbers where it's like Disneyland made a big deal. It's the diamond celebration, if you will, because, you know, because Disneyland also made a big deal, I remember, about their 60 years. Dragon, we really should be like marking this flag at 75, but like I feel like we don't even know if YouTube's going to be around in that time. So, you know, better to do it now when we're hitting a decade point. Anyways, you know what, Dragon? I literally just told you I was going to give you an intro, and then I just went ahead and did an intro. I'm sorry. That's my bad.
Yeah, but, you know, we went with 60 because, you know, Fantastic Four was in 61. 60 just feels right. You know, it's the big number.
Yeah, sure. All right, so we got Jedi Knight, we got Rohif Dahar, and we also got John Kelling in the comments. Happy to have y'all with us tonight. Let's see, he gives a Suicide Squad spoiler, so anyone who hasn't watched that, it's okay, John, just warned anyone. Anyone who hasn't watched Suicide Squad yet, which I assume is nobody here, but just in case. Okay, so, Dragon, I have such a quaint little story for you about my my nostalgic memories, like pre-Tim Story Fantastic Four. Are you ready for it?
Okay.
This is like dating back, like I would say maybe like 12-year-old Tiki, like late elementary school, early middle school Tiki here. So, Dragon, I always really loved The Thing. Specifically because I thought The Thing was essentially like the underdog equivalent to the Hulk in a lot of ways, where it's like everyone knows the Hulk, everyone loves the Hulk, and Dragon is, you know, as a kid I was always like, but I like The Thing, you know, and The Simpsons. I'm gonna pull The Simpsons, and The Simpsons had this really memorable gag, I believe, with Stan Lee himself, right?
It was.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? Where Stan Lee's just like Bart Simpson's like, this isn't the Incredible Hulk. It's the Thing painted green. You just think it's the Thing painted green. Well, I'm sorry, I don't actually remember what Stan says in it, but yeah, Dragon. Honestly, that kind of left a mark of like, you know what? I'm on the Thing side. I like The Thing. You know, it's like I like the fact that he had like the rock texture pattern. I always really liked that part of his design. As for the other elements of the Fantastic Four, I mean, really, I don't have much. To be honest with you, Dragon, I was more familiar with the Human Torch as kind of like, you know, a rival of Spider-Man's, because as you know, one of the few comics that I did grow up reading was the original 60s run of Spider-Man. So the Human Torch would pop up in there sometimes. So like the Spider-Man comics are actually where I heard, you know, where I heard of the Human Torch first, where I was introduced to that character. Invisible Woman, Mr. Fantastic, Doctor Doom, all of them. As far as I'm concerned, they're still kind of blank slates to me. Like, we're going to get into, like, you know, apparently the Rise of the Silver Surfer, like the big wedding scene, like apparently that's a huge arc in the comics. And I'm like, yeah, they get married. Like, you know, it's like, I don't know bump kiss about these guys. Of course, I do know, you know, through kind of some pop culture osmosis, I know a lot about Doctor Doom now. I think I'm looking forward to seeing the MCU tackle Doctor Doom, but we'll get there. Let's see. John Kelling says everyone had issues with their insurance because of the Hulk. Yeah. What if the Thing was green?
Okay, here's how you do that story, okay? It's the Thing in the future where he's grown moss. He's been stranded and he's grown moss, and now he's entirely green.
I like it.
He's been hermetized, like he's lost all his friends in the future.
Okay, all right, Dragon. We gotta do this. What do you think?
All right, let's see. So Jedi Knight's throwing.
I think Kermit, Mr. Fantastic, Sue Storm, Mrs. Miss Piggy. That works. That's. But for the Thing,
No, Animal's not the Thing. Well, I mean,
No.
Jedi Knight, by no offense. So Rizzo's the Human Torch. I could buy that. Gonzo is Doctor Doom, absolutely.
I honestly, Gonzo is Doctor Doom, sure.
Perfect.
Human Torch. Let's see. The Thing, I'm just gonna throw out Big Mean Carl because I throw out Big Mean Carl for everything.
True. You know, honestly, Pepe might be a good Human Torch.
Pepe, or I was maybe thinking Sam.
Honestly, Sam would be great for the Thing, in my opinion.
The Thing, really?
Yeah, I mean, he's got the stern demeanor, and I don't know.
I don't know. I didn't. Well,
you know what? Actually, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Sam Eagle could be a good could be a good Mr. Fantastic. Honestly, actually, he might not be bad for
but
that.
you can't get rid of the Miss Piggy Kermit dynamic.
I know because of that, I wouldn't go that far. But I was thinking about it. Sam Eagle would not be a bad version of that. Ooh. But the Thing that my instinct would be Fozzie Bear just for the fun factor of it all. But you're right. Animal would not be my go-to for that.
Fozzie would be a good thing. Yeah. I'm not really sure on Human Torch though. I'm not really like completely sold.
I think it is a coin flip between Rizzo and Pepe, but Pepe, I don't know. He feels like the ladies' man, kind of the young hotshot. I could see him as the Human Torch.
All right. Anyways, that guy says, "What do you guys think of the John Watts directing the MCU version?" Well, that guy. If you stay tuned through the end of the show, we're going to have an extended kind of speculation. But just to answer the John Watts question. I'm not crazy about it, just to put it simply.
Yeah, he's not crazy about it.
I mean, I really do like Spider-Man Far From Home. I'm not a fan of Spider-Man Homecoming. Like, me not really being crazy about Spider-Man Homecoming, I think is probably one of my more controversial opinions on the channel.
I'm a little more on the opposite end of the spectrum, right? I think I like Homecoming more than Far From
Home. No, not even a chance. Not even a chance.
Well, I think that's what I'm saying. Well, that's what the opposite means, Tiki.
But yeah, John Watts, here's the thing, that guy. I am kind of like, generally speaking, I'm against homogenized directing. So I think homogenized directing hurt the Harry Potter franchise with David Yates just kind of coming in and, and just kind of like making the whole thing like the David Yates show, especially when Prisoner of Azkaban proves if you take a risk with a director with that franchise, look what you get, Dragon, I'm sorry, I'm going to kind of... Your beloved Russo brothers, they make great movies, but they don't have that big of a style to them. They don't have that much of a signature to them.
No, I'm sorry. Their signature is great movies. I'm sorry if that's not good enough signature. We made just one of the great back-to-back movies in Infinity War and Endgame, and also made two of the best Captain America movies. I'm sorry.
Dragon, I'm just saying I don't want to see every MCU movie directed by them. I'm a fan of diversity when it comes to directors.
Because 4 is everything now, apparently. Okay.
So with John Watts, I honestly don't think it's a good fit. I don't know. It makes me nervous, that guy. In a word, it makes me nervous.
I have more optimistic thoughts on John Watts. Let's just kind of call it out here so we don't have to dwell on it later. I like it because of just the fact that, there's... Well, let me put it this way. With the assumption that there will be crossover appeal of, classically Spider-Man #1, first issue of that comic, he meets the Fantastic Four.
That's fair. That's fair.
That's the thing. That's why I would... Otherwise,
that's a good card to pull, man.
Otherwise, I would be in your camp, Tiki. But because of that factor, I mean, I wanted Peyton Reed to be perfect choice to be Brad Bird, but clearly that's not in the cards. Peyton Reed was the one who was absolutely in the cards. So. But that didn't turn out anyway. So folks, the way we're going to break this down, also I'm going to get my kind of overall on the Fantastic Four out of the way. So, just to speak to the 60 years milestone. So, it's been 60 years since Marvel's first family changed the medium of comics. The flagship Marvel comic that essentially created the Marvel Universe as we know it. You don't have an MCU without a Marvel Universe. You don't have a Marvel Universe without the Fantastic Four. And I got nothing against Cap and the Invaders from the 40s. That was during wartime. But that was like you had like 3 characters that kind of fought in the war together. That was pretty much it for the Marvel Universe. It wasn't much. And of course, just to kind of give a little bit of historical credence here, this was, You know, this was really the bright idea to give superheroes problems. You know, the Fantastic Four was the gateway to that idea because you had Mr. Perfect and Captain America at the time. Like, okay, starts off skinny Steve Rogers, and then we boost him up with the serum before we kind of did the man at a time thing. So here, okay, let's take 4 people who would kind of bicker and everything, and they're an unconventional family, and they also they've been horribly kind of transformed by cosmic radiation, and one of them is the Thing. And again, this was pre-Spider-Man, pre-Hulk, and the rest. It was huge. And for those for posterity's sake, I love just how casual the origin of the Fantastic Four was. Or okay, Martin Goodman, he's playing golf one day with the folks at DC. He's like, man, that Justice League book's killing. We should do a team book, Stan. And then Stan's. The thing you got to remember, too, is like at this time, you had Frederick Wertham. Frederick Wertham in the 50s, he sanitized comics really badly, and everyone was on their heels, particularly DC. And on the Marvel side of things, this is before they really went all out in superheroes. They had like a couple Captain America stories of him like in the 50s. We're like, what's Captain going to do in the 50s?
Yeah, that always fascinates me with Marvel history is that Captain America was like the first one, and then there's like a gap.
Yeah, and that gap was pretty much what was kind of hurting Marvel at the time. Where it's like, hey, we're doing romance and westerns and basically some monster books. It's really all we got right now. So basically, hey, do a Justice League, do kind of a Justice League equivalent. And Stan Lee's at this point thinking about leaving the business. And of course, the big historic moment, Joan Lee, his wife, his ever faithful wife, she points out like, hey, if you're thinking about quitting anyway, just do a book the way you want to do. You go out happy, and what's the worst that can happen? You're walk out the door if you don't like this. Of course, history is made. He and Jack Kirby, in their own ways, they both put a lot of themselves into these 4 characters. Mr. Fantastic is the chatty, verbose Stan Lee. The wife, Sue Storm, is very much kind of Joan Lee. Johnny Storm is the young, brash, kind of like Stan Lee, what he dreams he would be in his younger days with hot women and fast cars. And of course, the Thing is unequivocally an orange version of Jack Kirby.
Oh yeah,
and Dr. Doom is basically the pompous Stan Lee that Jack Kirby would sometimes view him as. So again, it's Fantastic Four as a concept, as a group. It's the Times Square of our New York Marvel setting. It's the connecting point of all the Marvel crossovers. Again, Spider-Man #1, as I just said. I think Walt Simonson said it best. The Fantastic Four is the optimistic look into the future with the sci-fi and everything. That's what the Fantastic Four is all about. Looking forward and kind of looking upward and onward. Basically, the Fantastic Four embodies Excelsior, upward and onward to better things. We get the cosmic stuff. We don't get Guardians of the Galaxy without the FF. It's
very true.
You get an iconic villain in Dr. Doom, even by himself. That's a character interesting enough to carry his 60 years on his own. Yet we put him in with the
as
FF.
The Silver Surfer.
We get the Silver Surfer. We get Black Panther introduced through Fantastic Four. There's so much we do by way of the Fantastic Four. It was so pivotal to what Marvel was, and it was the kindling that lit the massive fire of like, well, we start here, we can do superheroes with problems, ergo Spider-Man, Hulk, X-Men, you name it. And here we are now, 60 years later.
Cool. Okay, so really quick, Rohif says, I think John Watts is a good pick in regards to him knowing how to do character stuff and does a good job with directing actors. Those are both really good points, for sure. Yeah, honestly, Dragon, your crossover point honestly kind of like sells me on him a lot more than I was. I was like, that's a good point.
That is very contingent on how this next Spider-Man movie goes, mind you. But yeah,
sure. Oh,
as everything is right now, we have no idea how that thing's going to turn out. But so now that we've kind of set the stage with just again celebrate. Okay, 60 years of the Fantastic Four period, but now we're going to key in on what we've done with the movie so far and where we're hoping to go. So again, over 60 years, it's always been a battle to get them represented on screen. And let's say there have been highs, but a lot of lows. But there's more importantly, there's hope as well. There's hope as well going forward.
Well,
so we're going to look back
to the hope, Dragon. Let's start out with the Roger Corman Fantastic Four.
Sure. Yes, the 94 film.
Yeah, so, Dragon, I mean, obviously, like, we can't actually watch this thing. Actually, can we?
It's on YouTube, Tiki.
It's on YouTube. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm mixing it up with something else. But, I think I just watched this once, and, it's a mess, but like aesthetically and maybe even in terms of tone, it's probably the closest that the movies have ever captured the comics, I think. It's a, like definitely aesthetically, it's got that kind of like 90s charm to it. It very much kind of like feels like a more successful version of the 90s Captain America in a lot of ways. While still not being a great film at all. It's, I don't know. It's, of course, the behind the scenes drama with that film is sort of really very much overshadows the film itself.
Yeah, two things.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, one, it's Corman with a C, Tiki.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And secondly, for folks, I encourage you all, and also for the time being is on YouTube. And the Corman Fantastic Four is always on YouTube, so you can find that one easily if you're ever curious. It's not going to be of the best quality because they never officially released it, but there's this documentary called Doomed, the untold story of the Roger Corman Fantastic Four. It's a wonderful documentary. Tiki and I have spoken about it before. Highly recommend it. It's one of the great kind of like, the unreleased, one of the great untold story documentaries, like the film that never was.
Uh-huh.
So, at this time, just speaking to your Captain America point, Tiki, it said, this was Marvel's desperate period. They were pretty much playing catch up with DC. They're very much in DC shadow with, 89 Batman coming out around this point, kind of that late 80s, early 90s period. They were selling off film rights like crazy. That's how you get like the Punisher, the Dolph Lundgren Punisher and the Cap movie and everything. And the fact of the matter is they did not have a Marvel Studios or a Warner Brothers. They had independent kind of film studios like New Constantine, which is not exactly an A-tier studio.
Right. Yeah. And like you said, that's how we get the Punisher and Captain America and stuff like that. Yeah. It's really weird looking back on it that Marvel really was kind of like the grindhouse of the superhero franchises. It's like they just kind of went to whatever studio would pick them up.
Yeah, and essentially you had, like, I believe, I don't know if he was German or not, but they had Bert Eichinger. This is the guy who got the rights in 92, and he basically got the bright idea, hey, I'm going to go into, like, a last-minute production to keep the rights to this film, where I basically have a year. I'm going to give him a year to make the movie and then get into the release, which puts us in 94. And essentially it's like, hey, we're going to make a B movie for this very big property that definitely is going to be effects heavy for $1 million, which is kind of doomed to fail in so many respects. And I want to give credit where credit's due this film. This is the thing. People, I don't even know how well known this film is at this point in time, just given how far we've gone in 60 years, since the creation of the Fantastic Four. But I want to give credit to the film, which basically Doom, that documentary is all about, just kind of highlighting it. These were folks who really did give their all for this film, even though it was a B movie. They didn't know they were making essentially a placeholder movie. Basically, hey, there is a film, but we're not going to release it. They thought like, hey, we're making the first Fantastic Four film. This is awesome. I mean, to the film's credit, it is well cast. I mean, Alex Hyde White as Reed Richards he gave a really good performance, and they are going as off the page as they could by the 90s period, with the Fantastic Fours. And Doom looks so on the money from what he is in the comics. If you look at him, he's got the cape, he's got the metal, like he looks like, while you can hear the plastic of the armor, he is pretty verbatim what Dr. Doom looks like. And the only time out of the four they've truly addressed he's a king technically. He's got Ledbury. He has like a castle.
Yeah, so John Kelling says it's a 90s movie with the budget of a television series. To that point, I will absolutely not disagree whatsoever, but I still stand by the fact that aesthetically it's the most comics accurate version we've gotten so far.
Exactly. We put them in the blue and white suits. And here's something to give credit to. I don't know if you remember this, Steve. It's because it's so long ago. And again, it's kind of an unknown entity. Dr. Doom's origin and his hatred of Reed Richards, which I think is a really important thing when you have these movies that throw in your face. Reed and Doom are important characters, yet we never really spend time like why they hate each other. This movie does the Doom origin, where basically the science experiment goes wrong and he blames Reed Richards. We do that here, verbatim, and they went the extra mile despite having a low budget. Like they have like an animatronic thing head, which looks really impressive for the time. I like the score. It has these elements that work for it that no one ever talks about.
All right. John Kelling makes the good point. I think it's more infamous for never being released than it is judged on its own merits. And yeah, John, that's absolutely true. And like Dragon's kind of saying, I feel like as a film, it's no one ever really kind of like takes the time to really examine it. And, you know, mostly for good reason. It's pretty, you know, it's like Dragon said, there is some good stuff going on there, but it's still like a slice of 90s cheese.
Yeah,
but,
it's cheesy for sure. I mean, here's the thing: it's cheesy, but I love the atmosphere for kind of that '60s vibe in places.
Sure,
We're going for like again. That said, that we do cheap out on things like the Mole Man. We can't call him the Mole Man because even then, Tiki, we have rights issues where even though it's a character from their own book, they can't call him the Mole Man. He's like the jeweler, and we kind of cheap out when we send them in the space and everything. You know, that sort of stuff. But yeah, I think. John's absolutely right, though. You know, there is the irony that it succeeded more in infamy, you know, outliving the buzz that it would have gotten as like
not even like with, you know, with something like The Room. Obviously, it kind of like develops a cult following for being bad. And it's like this isn't the case. It's like the story of the movie itself is more famous than the actual movie. It's like how many times does that happen? It's really interesting.
And I agree with that guy. Still better than Fanforstic. I would, yes.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there.
And it's still ridiculous though. After all this time,
I'm probably going to be Fanforstic's biggest defender, but yeah, it's still a train wreck of a movie. It just has certain elements that I'm kind of on board for.
It's still ridiculous to me that after all these years, we haven't put it as like a bonus feature on one of the re-releases of like the Tim Story films or anything, you know? Like if you want people to buy Fanforstic, you say, okay, here's Fanforstic and the Roger Corman Fantastic Four.
I mean, maybe one of the reasons they're not doing that nowadays is because, like you said, everyone knows it's like easily accessible on YouTube. So
yeah, sure. Well, what I'm saying is they never official. I mean, so you have like a cruddy quality on YouTube. I'm saying they could have.
No, you're right. You're right. A nice restored version would be nice for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'm just saying that's all right. So anyway, so the reason the film never got released, and this transitions us into the next movie, Avi Arad, the infamous Avi Arad, basically the anti-Feige,
the real life Marvel villain.
To an extent, again, look, Avi Arad, he's done a lot of good stuff. He's kind of the Jeffrey Katzenberg.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He's very much the Katzenberg for Marvel. That's kind of the way I kind of.
That's a good comparison. Yeah, yeah.
So you know, again, so at this, when they're releasing this movie, even Stan Lee came down on it, dismissing it, and not for bad reasons. Like Stan Lee, like kind of said, this he did not have like the Kevin Feige oversight that you know we have now with a Kevin Feige in charge of things. Like so, Stan Lee's kind of divorcing himself from this movie and like all those other films that came before, like the Punisher and the Captain America film. Like, yeah, we're not really excited about this, but you know, down the line, hopefully with basically the Spider-Man of its time and everything, which they were hoping for, then like things will actually pick up and we'll have some more oversight. It'll be like a proud Marvel film instead of in association with Marvel, which is kind of where we're at now with certain things. Anyway, so Avi Arad, he steps in after the 90s success of the X-Men cartoon. He was a Toy Biz guy. You know, he basically marketed the shows into toy lines, and he kind of figured, okay, hey, I've kind of spun things in the gold with the X-Men movies that are now in the works, which will then lead in the Spider-Man movies in the works. And over the years, he basically facilitated things. Okay, we're not gonna release this movie, so we can release the 05 version, which will be the polished version of the Fantastic Four, like the big budget version that we can now make. Now that we have like licensees and rights and everything kind of in our corner, which then transitions.
It always bugs me that this movie wasn't released in 2004.
I know. Me too. So
what are you gonna do? Maybe the MCU movie will be released in 2024.
We have some count. Jedi Knight says Spider-Man is not an Avenger.
Yeah, pretty much. Which I mean, like, if you go by like very early comic book storytelling, like technically yes, for a while.
Yeah, that's fine too. Like Spider-Man, he's very, he's never.
I mean, honestly, Dragon, I do like the story arc of Spider-Man trying and failing to get into the Avengers. So
yeah.
All right. Anyways, like I said, old school Spider-Man comic fan.
Okay, so the 05 Fantastic Four.
Yes.
So this is Tim Story's film. So
Dragon, this was I have a very, very like catch-all phrase for this. All right.
Okay, what do you got?
Baby's first blockbuster disappointment.
Really?
Yep. Dragon, this did not hit me like Spider-Man 3. That, and I think a lot of people in our age demographic can agree, like, that was the first movie where it's like, we were hyped as hell for it, and then like we could just feel the air deflate in the theater. And whereas this was like, yeah, this wasn't like a mortal wound. This was more of a boo-boo. You know, this was more like, oh, you know, basically Dragon, for my 14-year-old mind, essentially my criticism was like, I was excited for the movie with the thing in it, and the movie with the thing in it turned out to be stupid, so it's bad.
Okay, so a couple things. One, we have some comments where that guy says the 94 Fantastic Four walked, so 05 could, well, not run, but maybe walk slightly faster.
Yeah, that's a good way to
if there were a poster quote of a comment this stream, I would say that might be it.
But Dre, I do remember like being kind of stoked for this movie, just on the basis, of course, it's coming after the Spider-Man 1 and 2, so you're kind of like riding a high of Marvel at this point, right? And you're like,
yeah, like a universe is being built before your eyes, and this is like the hope of like maybe they could cross. You have Spider-Man, you have Daredevil, you have the X-Men, like then they have the Hulk, so you have like those are all your properties you have at this point, and then kind of their early forms.
Rohith, I hear you on X-Men: The Last Stand. I just don't think I was as emotionally invested as the X-Men movies as I was with the Spider-Man movies.
That Spider-Man 3 trailer
movies really were like a soap opera, you know?
They were, and that the Spider-Man 3 trailer always had me with the whole like the Uncle Ben confrontation of like, what does it matter to you anyway? Everything!
Oh my god. Yeah, oh god. Yeah, you see that's the shit right there,
yeah,
Dragon.
I know.
Still hurts.
So I think this film, I think the Tim Story film, along with you know, your examples of you know, the X-Men, basically the X-Men franchise of Fox, and I'm sorry, I think these are examples of studio meddled films in a big way, you know, where you can kind of see the studio meddling, and of course it would get more infamous with the X-Men movies at Fox at times, especially kind of the middle to the end of things that they really get meddled with. Because I learned this about the background movie. It's been a while. That apparently there were a lot of directors considered for the Fantastic Four movie before Tim Story. And Tim Story, I can't recall what he did that put him on the map, but Tim Story's thing in general is that, you know, he seemed to be more of kind of like a studio kind of director, kind of like a guy like, he doesn't seem like to be like the direct creative choice of like,
kind of like a Diet Coke Chris Columbus.
That sounds, and I'm so glad you brought that up, because Chris Columbus was involved in the 94 version. That's why he was the first director. He was the first choice to direct this. And so, again, it's been in the works since 94 with Chris Columbus, and that fell through. And then we had Peyton Reed actually was going to be the guy to direct this movie. But what happened, and this is where I get into the whole studio meddling thing, is that he basically fell off because Fox had a very specific vision and demands for the film to measure up, I presume, to basically what they were building elsewhere with like Spider-Man, the X-Men, and Daredevil, like those films. Like, it wanted to like make it more like Spider-Man, that sort of thing. You know, like that's why I imagine, you know, you have like kind of that in the running. And also, when they were working on this, they were in competition with The Incredibles, and The Incredibles came out first. Which is why the third act, which I do like, does very, very much like The Incredibles in terms of, okay, we're all four of them working together to take out the bad guy. And apparently this is where this character enters our story. Simon Kinberg, he actually did the rewrites on that scene, so he's the one who actually had to catch up. Okay, we gotta put some of The Incredibles in this movie, otherwise it's gonna look foolish. So I gotta tell you, Tiki, my rewatching this film, it's been a while. I gotta tell you, I think out of our four existing films here, is the best of the bunch for me.
I don't doubt it at all. I don't doubt that at all.
I like this film, man. It's not perfect by any stretch. It's not perfect out of the bunch, especially. But here's the thing. I think what I like about it is that it celebrates the spirit of the Fantastic Four most. I think it's more. I think it gets more right than it does wrong, but it gets things wrong, for sure. I think I've isolated the things that it gets wrong to two major elements that I think kind of cripple the film. But outside of those two elements, everything else really shines. So everyone says, you know, it's campy and like it's dated, which they're not wrong, but the two specific.
I don't care that it's campy. I just don't think it's funny.
Well, let me tell you what I think. In regards to the humor, I think the casting of Jessica Alba as Sue Storm is a major problem for the film.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of our humor.
And it's very much just dated. Like Dragon, I was just watching a Scott Kramer video on GoDaddy.com. Do you remember that?
I do remember GoDaddy.com.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh man, this would not fly in today's culture whatsoever, and for good reason. And I kind of feel the same way about the Jessica Alba Sue Storm.
See, that's the thing. Jessica Alba's casting is eye candy casting, which is aged very poorly, and that's where we have a lot of forced humor. Like, hey, the Invisible Woman stripping down the Brooklyn Bridge, ha ha ha. That's funny.
Like, I am not one of those. Like, I'm not a pearl clutcher about this sort of stuff, right? I'm really not. But like that sort of thing, that sort of humor is like genuinely uncomfortable for me nowadays.
Yeah, and basically, I think that and the love triangle with Doctor Doom in regards to just like her side.
Honestly,
of things,
everything about Doctor Doom in this movie is a major fail for me.
Well, that was my other point, Tiki. But yes, so I'm saying Sue Storm, the casting of Sue Storm, and just Doctor Doom on the whole, those are the two flaws in the movie to me. Everything else, honestly, when you go back to the movie, everything else pretty much holds up to me, honestly, in terms of it. At the very least, fits into what I want from a Fantastic Four movie, or at the very least, baby's first Fantastic Four. This is like, as your building blocks. I mean, it feels in the spirit.
I mean, I do remember this movie having a pretty solid Ben Grimm, Johnny Storm dynamic, which is, I mean, that's one of the main things you need for a Fantastic Four movie. So,
So Doctor Doom obviously is a huge linchpin of one of the things that makes Fantastic Four special. And here's what we do wrong with it here. We took a really interesting villain, we took a really interesting villain and a monarch, even a king, like this whole, like the whole thing we now celebrate all over the place with Black Panther. Now we've seen it done right in terms of what can you do with a character who's also a king. And we made him a early 2000s typical businessman. That's what we did. We took a king and we made him a stuffy businessman. And I understand that, to be fair, Doctor Doom is tricky because, at this time, like how are you gonna? It's gonna be hard to convey because he has a little bit of magic in his background. He's got technology. He's also a king. Those are elements that might be hard, at least for circa 2005, to convey. Like all of those elements in one movie. Doctor Doom is not an easy feat. So I think now that we have like a whole
I think the MCU is like tailor-made for a character like Doctor Doom to thrive.
Yeah, now we have like the landscape where that can fit like a glove. I'm just saying back then, if like in one movie, like to do that for the first time, I don't envy that task. And like I don't mind some of the changes we made to him. Like, for example, I don't mind giving him powers and doing like the whole metal thing, like putting him on the ship with him. That doesn't bother me. That's fine. I think they might have pulled that from one of the reinterpretations of like Fantastic Four. Not the ultimate, but what the problem is I'm not getting Doctor Doom as the hero of his own story, which is what made that character special. Like, every Marvel villain thinks they're the hero of their own story. He wants to rule the world because he thinks he can make it better. He's just bad because he's jealous of Reed and he's rich. That's the only reason he's bad. That's less interesting to me.
Right. Dragon, we got a bunch of comments, so I don't want to pile up too much. So John Kelling says, baby's first Fantastic Four would have her be in place of Human Torch so kids wouldn't set themselves on fire.
Oh, God.
Right? John Kelling, I actually did a marathon of all the Herbie movies when Disney Plus dropped, just because I was like really into the whole idea of like, the vault of like cheesy Disney movies from the 70s that I'd never seen. So I'm actually pretty well versed in Herbie lore, if you will.
We have a familiar face in the comments.
I know. I was getting to him. All right. Just Giggle It says, really need to give these a rewatch. Watch the latest. Never rewatched it after the theater for the Alba Evans films. I'd love to see y'all with Pop and Chat. Thanks for jumping on earlier. If any of you guys don't know, like, head on over to Just Giggle It for, like, as far as I'm concerned, legitimately, I'm not just saying it because we're friends with the folks, but legitimately the best sketch comedy on YouTube, bar none, as far as I'm concerned. But great to have you in the chat, Josh, and really enjoyed talking to you about Suicide Squad earlier. All right, let's see. Dr. Doom is disappointing in Tim Story's Fantastic Four, but he's so much more capable and intimidating than the Fantastic version.
That's the thing. That I think he's got the aesthetic of Doom is cool. Like he's in the suit and everything. He's
it's just like the characterization that's off.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like making like a kind of a pithy little love triangle. It's like, really, that's what we're doing. We don't even have Namor to do that with yet. We're doing it with Doom now.
Right.
I mean,
let's see, Dragon. Any other comments I'm missing here?
Yeah, let's see. Hold on. I think. All right. Okay. Jedi Knight says this Doctor Doom is not Norman Osborn. I think he means like this is like a not Norman Osborn. You know, it's like
Yeah, it's like a Diet Coke Norman Osborn, essentially.
yeah, essentially. Again, in terms of like ripping probably like a studio mandate. Let's do a Norman Osborn type here in terms of our businessman kind of thing.
And the actor, I actually
Julian
Nip Tuck.
Yeah, that's what he was big for. Yeah.
Yeah. And Dragon, honestly, like, I got to be honest with you, like, if you watch him just in Nip Tuck, you can kind of see, like, yeah, I could see this guy as a Doctor Doom, you know?
Yeah, I mean, actor, here's the thing, the actor's good, and also he was in another MC, he was in technically an MC, oh, I know Feige's bugging me a lot, the whole what he canonizes with the TV stuff and everything, but
I know.
On Marvel's Runaways, he played a really good bad guy. He played Jonah, basically the leader of kind of this cult. Nice. In the Runaways, but yeah, he I like his performance a lot better here than Silver Surfer, but yeah. Something I want to highlight, just in terms of like the stuff I really like in the movie, real quick. Of course, you mentioned Chiklis is the Thing is great, but also the makeup really impressive on the Thing.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like easily the most. I would say the makeup on the Thing is probably the best thing in the whole film.
I mean, again, I think the casting, with the exception of Jessica Alba, is A+, because again, Michael Chiklis, Chris Evans, very fun as the Human Torch, and also I think we underserved him here. But I love this actor, Alon Gruffert. I love him in a show called Forever. No one knows what that show is going to last this season because we can't have good television. But it was an excellent show. Point being, I know Gruffert he actually, because he looks the part. I know he has the range. It just feels like I think we give him more to do in the second movie than we do here, oddly enough. And I just wish we gave him more to do, but he needs a Dr. Doom to go up against. That's the problem. We don't do enough with Doom here, so he doesn't get enough time to shine. But my favorite scene, unequivocally, in the Fantastic Four movie from 2005 is the scene on the bridge. In general, with the exception of the Invisible Woman stripping, I love him saving people and everything. That's really cool. But the aftermath gets me in the feels, Tiki. That scene where Ben Grimm, Debbie runs away. She drops the ring because she just can't marry him at this state. And Reed Richards goes over to his buddy. The beautiful friendship over 60 years between Ben Grimm and Reed Richards just shows in this moment where he picks up the ring because the Thing cannot get it with his giant fingers. He puts it in his hand. I promise with every breath of my body, you'll be Ben again. I'll help you.
Yeah,
that's what those characters are. That's beautiful.
For sure.
And the third act just feels right out like a Jack Kirby.
The third act is a mess. It's a mess.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I thought so.
Well, what doesn't do it for you with the third act?
You know what? Not the third act itself, Dragon. I hated the ending, though. I'm sorry.
Well, you hate them being on the boat for the ending, you mean?
Yeah, I hated the ending.
Well, that's fine. I mean, the climax, like the fight.
The climax is fine. I honestly don't really remember much about it.
Well, I'm just saying, like, we do... I just want to bring up the climax because I like that we do like classic Kirby things from the book, like you're shooting like giant rocket launchers and like the things punching the crap out of Dr. Doom and like the heat-seeking missile and everything. I mean, that sort of stuff. But yeah, ending is a little. We have to write 4 in the sky. We have to end off on that note.
And then the Dr. Doom cliffhanger, which was just a whole giant slice of I don't care.
Yeah, and well, it's so ridiculous. We just pay very little lip service to, hey, Latveria, he runs his own country, yet he's running a business. We're not going to talk about the country thing at all. Right, yeah. It's like literally in the movie, the mask was a gift from Latveria. We're not going to address that at all.
That guy says, who do you think did the best with their character? The Chiklis, pretty safe to say, right?
Unequivocally, Chiklis.
Yeah. Best thing, the best scene of the movie is Doom just glaring at Reed and the others at monitors, just contemplating ruined third lives because
I think he means their lives.
Petty. What?
Yeah, I think he means like ruining their lives. But yeah.
Let's see. It was such a missed opportunity to not highlight things Jewish heritage and bring in the Yancey Street Gang, especially as it connects to his brother Daniel in either Tim Story's Fantastic Four or Fan Four Stick.
They really should have done that in Fan Four Stick, and I know
really would have worked in Fan Four Stick because like Fan Four Stick's got the whole like gritty childhood thing going for it.
And I heard that, and again, like we'll get into this when we get there soon, but just Trank, he made a lot of promises with Act 1 and mainly doing a lot of that stuff in the early years, which I mean we did. But it sounds like he wanted to do more, and obviously the rest of that movie wouldn't really distract from anything he wanted to do there. But yeah, like we got to see a slice of life of Ben Grimm, like how he was growing up and everything. That'd be absolutely the place to do the Yancey Street stuff. And what we should have seen is like perhaps just spitballing here. What couldn't the Thing see his family, and how would they react to him being an Orange Rock guy now? Like,
sure.
No, let's throw him in a war zone. Let's see how that goes.
All right, we're not there yet. We're not there yet.
Oh, right, sorry, you're right. But yeah, so again, I'm feeling the most positive about 05. Okay.
Next up is Rise of the Silver Surfer, and honestly, Dragon, I feel like this is a case of like. It's a combination of I genuinely do really like the Silver Surfer. He's one of my favorite Marvel characters. I just love how weird and like philosophical he is. I love the art associated with him. So just any sort of Silver Surfer representation, I'm just going to kind of take like a drug addict. I'm just going to, oh, Silver Surfer, give me,
The Silver Surfer is not a problem in this movie. Let's be
No,
frank.
it's not.
Silver Surfer
but I would
is
say
the best
that,
part.
and then also the fact that Dragon, I think the reason why I like this, I don't want to say I like it better than the 05 movie, but I might have fonder feelings for it, is I think it's a case of like I went in with dirt low expectations, and I was like, that was fun. It's all right. It's like, it's not a great movie, but it was fun. It was fun. I don't know. But unequivocally, I think the best thing about this movie is the Silver Surfer himself. Like, it's not a great representation of the character by any means, but I mean, it's still like, of course, Doug Jones does the physical performance. Lawrence Fishburne does the, as Rohit says, Lawrence Fishburne does the voice. I do agree that I would have liked to see Doug Jones. I don't know. Honestly, what I would have liked to have seen, and what I'd love to see even now is, like a more physicalized Doug Jones take on Silver Surfer, where it's like more of a suit, with CG elements as opposed to the other way around. I mean?
He is wearing a suit for the majority of those scenes, though, right? I mean, he is actually in the suit.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, I mean, well, I know for a fact, like when he's off the surfboard, that's all him in a suit.
Nice.
I want to say, I don't know if they did like mocap or also put him in that same suit during the CG scenes.
Well, I'm sorry, Dragon, color me dumb.
I mean, when he's off the surfboard and he's captured, that is all him in the suit. I know that for a fact, but yeah.
John Kelly makes a great comment here. I think the cloud they had playing Galactus was miscast. You should have portrayed the negative. Galactus is easily like it's such a yin yang, right? Because the best thing about this movie is the Silver Surfer. Probably the worst thing about the movie is Galactus.
Yeah, okay. First, I wish we give major points to John Kelly. That is an excellent joke. I love that. It's a Fantastic Four joke, and I love it. All right. So, Rise of Silver Surfer on the whole, it adapts two major events for the Fantastic Four, and I take it the wedding is not like it's not like a huge arc; it's just like one issue. It's just like the wedding issue. They all get married, like one story, where they get married, and then you have the coming of Galactus, which is like a trilogy. That's like the whole the 3-part Galactus trilogy, which introduces the Silver Surfer. Now, sadly, despite the cool factor of the Silver Surfer, I think we're very simpatico. And the Silver Surfer rocks in this movie every time he shows up,
And like I said, it's not even a great interpretation of the, like, comic character because he, I mean, it's like they try to give him the wax poetic stuff, but it's nothing compared to what Jack Kirby had, of course.
It's nothing egregiously off character, though. It's just a little
You're right. It's just a very watered down take on his philosophy.
I mean, also just the Doug Jones playing and physicalizing the role and everything. It's it's this frustrating thing with Doug Jones because he's so darn good, and we know he's so darn good. Is the fact that even when we get really good actors to voice his characters, and I like those actors, like David Hyde Pierce voicing Abe Sapien versus Doug Jones doing performance in the second movie. We have Doug Jones as both the voice and the character, which I love even better. And then we have the Silver Surfer here. Lawrence Fishburne is a great voice for the Silver Surfer, yet I could imagine Doug Jones also being amazing as the soft-spoken Silver Surfer. I could either way.
I'm going to throw out Keith David.
That's not bad. You mean as Galactus or as the Silver Surfer?
Silver Surfer. I'm not sure about Galactus, honestly. I'm trying to rack my brain.
I don't know. I could buy it. All right. Yeah, I'm sorry. So anyway, so I think this and the Spider-Man trilogy were some of the first superhero films to adapt major stories. That was the thing Marvel had in its cat that DC did not. DC didn't go on for full adaptations at that time. Where you have like the three Spider-Man movies are major adaptations of the origin to Spider-Man No More to the black suits or
sure.
And
same thing with the X-Men films to a certain extent.
To an extent, but that's where things kind of get messy. Like
It gets messy, yeah, but
the third one was an adaptation. Then they tried going and then you get your Logans and everything. That's more down the line, like after this. And the problem is, like, there is no bigger story for the Fantastic Four than the coming of Galactus. This is like the big leagues. This is like the story.
It'd basically be like if the Avengers 1 is Infinity War.
Sure.
But yeah, let's see. Galactus being really quick, I like that guy's comic. Galactus being a cloud is the most pre-MCU superhero film that ever pre-MCU superhero filmed. Totally. Uncle Deadly for Mephisto. I mean, I'll sign off on that. Sure. I'm not gonna argue with it. Solid cast in there. Let's see. Oh, the 70s era Orson Welles for Galactus. That would be something. That would
be perfect. You have to. Yes. I agree. If we could do in the 70s, that's the guy you get. Either that or you get him as the Kingpin for Daredevil. One of those two, yeah. But
did they just do the thing that they did with Anthony Bourdain for Orson Welles?
You can get what did they do? They get a sound alike for that?
No, it was a weird computer program.
Oh right, they did the Brando thing.
Yeah. Like I didn't address it during memoirs because honestly, I don't really think it matters that much to the movie, but it is weird.
So right, I'm sorry. Getting back to my point about the coming of Galactus thing, where. Here's the thing. I don't mind them blending those two stories at all because basically what they do is they streamline the wedding where the wedding is, okay, we're getting married, but then basically all the Marvel villains attack, but clearly we don't have the rights to all the Marvel villains. So we made the Silver Surfer the event that's gumming up the wedding. It's not bad. Making Galactus that story and again tying those two in together. The problem is we're missing the payoff where the Fantastic Four outwit Galactus. We're kind of missing again, we're making Galactus a cloud in the third act. It's not much.
I mean, the cloud could have been any just baseless MacGuffin character, There's literally no characterization to it.
Regrettably, yes. Also, so again, you have that going on. I love treating the Fantastic Four as celebrities, though. I think that's the fun factor, T.
That is probably my favorite element of the movie outside of Silver Surfer. Yeah,
the best things I can say about the movie are yes, Silver Surfer, kind of the post first movie celebrity factor. Okay, well now they're known entities. The things were enclosed. Now they're custom fitted to them.
Can we also just sign off on the fact on Stan Lee as Willy Loman is one of the all time great Stan Lee casting choices.
Well, Willy Loman's Death of a Salesman. You're thinking of Willy Lumpkin, the mailman.
You know what's funny? I actually just watched a video essay about Death of the Salesman, so that's why that name's in my mind.
But remember, though, so he's Willy Lumpkin in the first movie. In the second movie, he crashes the wedding as himself, which is how the wedding ended.
Right. Yeah, I'm sorry. You're right. You're right. Yeah.
In the comic, the wedding ended with Jack and Stan trying to crash the wedding, saying, "We know him." They're just being turned away. Funny. So it's literally awesome. they get married, and it's like, well, they're turned away. But I mean, yes, it's the celeb factor, it's the Silver Surfer, and again, I think Grufford gets the shine as Reed Richards more. I think it's the idea of Reed Richards going on an arc where he's starting to he's bridging into the idea of having a family and being married and everything. He's trying to make time for both things. I like that. I don't think we necessarily stuck the landing with it because we had the ridiculous thing that we have on the Flash 24/7 these days in superhero stuff, where it's like, hey, we're trying to do something and the world's about to end. Every time you turn, it's like the fourth time you get married. Like, oh, the wife's not going to like this.
Yeah.
Also, we really botched things with the General, who was our Nick Fury fill-in, by the way, in case you didn't catch it. They tried to do a fill-in for Nick Fury, which did not go well at all.
And the fact that we that at all.
The General, I think it was General Monger or something. I think it's I forget what we called him. Anyway.
That guy asked, "What's more campy, Raimi Spider-Man or Tim Story Fantastic?" I mean, Raimi Spider-Man, but in a good way.
Yeah, I mean, not leave it this way. It's more. It always feels weird when I say campy for the Fantastic Four because I don't know if it's truly campy, but I think it plays more as campy. Like leave it this way. Silver Surfer is more campy than the first Fantastic Four because we're doing stuff like, hey, we're dancing at the wedding and we're doing all Reed's in trouble for like the bachelor party for some reason, and she had a crazier bad. Like these are the jokes that are not landing with me. These are campy jokes I don't like.
Yeah,
so it's more joke. I don't know, at least jokey, like
No, that's what I'm saying. That's why I honestly, Dragon, I find campy can be a term of endearment.
Yeah, like the 60s Batman.
Raimi Spider-Man, it's absolutely a term of endearment. Whereas what you're saying is absolutely true. It's like it's not campy. It's more so just awkward humor.
Yeah. Also, a little side note, I love the Fantastic Car, but you know me, I'm a sucker for a good vehicle. And, of course, the Fantastic Car is an iconic moment for the Fantastic Four. I love Reed Richards just like tell them to shut up as they're trying to like bicker. I want to drive it. No, I do. Shut up, I'm driving. I built it. Oh, what did you think about the power thing? The whole power shifting, the whole Super Scroll homage. Johnny Storm, he just keeps getting all the powers.
Oh God! Oh man, I forgot that was even a thing in this.
Yeah,
movie.
That was like the big thing where every time you remember they put him in they put Chris Evans in the thing.
Honestly, I think it's kind of like I'm using the term Diet Coke a lot in this podcast, but I think it's
we're not sponsored yet, folks.
It's kind of like a Diet Coke version of like Spider-Man losing his powers in Spider-Man 2. Like it's just kind of like, oh look, his powers are out of whack.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, for me, it's like I can get behind like putting the Fantastic Four in mundane situations and the relatable stuff because that's who those characters are, but I can't get behind the story of this movie is a mess to me. I don't want to bore you with all the details, but everything just doesn't really line up
absolutely believe it that the original has a more solid story. Yeah, absolutely.
Sure. And mind you, the original is like we're going with the Watchers in the original story, which clearly we could never do here. So, but yeah, it's like we're missing. Just as an adaptation.
No, when I say I mean like the 2005 movie.
Oh, right. Sorry.
I'm saying like the 2005 movie, like the story in that. The story is not the problem with the 2005 movie, where it kind of is with Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Which is so weird how that works. It's kind of flipped it entirely there. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Just like, I wish the plot made more sense and I'd be a little more forgiving to it. But it just, like, characters are fine because now we've hashed out what we need to know about them. And I mean, I can tolerate Jessica Alba, but I don't like where our stories head. Like, nothing really makes sense. Like, why is the general bickering with the only people? Like, a bigger question. The biggest flaw, though, Dr. Doom, it gets worse in this movie. Like, we only put him in this movie just to fight him on a surfboard in the end, and we knock him out with a crane. That's dumb.
Yeah, Dr. Doom just didn't need to be in this movie at all.
I mean, he looks cool on the surfboard, but that doesn't help me at all. It's nothing. Good.
All right.
Let's see who's any comments.
Okay, let's see. I like Jedi Knight's idea, and I would honestly like really sign off on this, especially after Loki. Fantastic Four could have a retro 50s aesthetic like the Fallout games. I mean, yeah, totally.
I'd second that idea. I mean, I'd go for more 60s.
Especially with the the speculation that the Fantastic Four might be a period piece, or at the very least, it might be kind of like they're kind of like people out of time or something like that. So
I would love it if they did that.
On that, yeah. Gilbert Gottfried is Impossible Man. I don't know who Impossible Man is, but like this comment just randomly makes me want to see Gilbert Gottfried as a Suicide Squad red shirt.
Okay, do you remember Mr. Mxyzptlk?
Yes.
Okay, so fun fact, Gilbert Gottfried voiced him in the Superman the Animated Series, and basically this is Marvel's version of Mr. Mxyzptlk.
Oh, okay.
So that's it. He was like green with like kind of a weird kind of like a purple kind of exercise outfit or something, like kind of like almost like a Borat suit.
Uh-huh.
Like the weird workout thing Borat.
Yeah, I got you.
Anyway, yeah.
All right. So that transitions us into Fan Four Stick.
Oh boy. All right. Okay, so this is the Josh Trank Fantastic
On paper, on paper, like the idea of doing body horror for Fantastic Four, like, it doesn't work for the comic at all. Like, it's, you know, it's obviously like not an accurate representation of the comic in any way, shape, or form. But I do kind of think it's an interesting premise, and Josh Trank is I honestly think what happened to him with this movie is kind of tragic. I really do. Like, it's a cautionary tale for Hollywood for sure.
It is.
You know, it's very much a don't bite the hand that feeds you situation. Because Josh Trank, frankly, I think is a director that had a ton of potential that really got cut down in his prime, mostly thanks to, like, Dragon. This is honestly like a primary reason why I don't really like the MCU's practice of, you know, just kind of like swooping up the young hot directors, because it's like, I really want to see these directors like actually, you know, do films with their own fingerprints on them. And you know, so what happened, like, obviously Chronicle, Dragon, that's safe to say that's probably, you know, outside of like the obvious ones like The Incredibles, I would say Chronicle is probably like one of the best original superhero movies out there, just as far as like, you know, taking the concept of superheroes, but not adapting anything from it and doing its own unique thing with it. And then we get Fant4stic, which, like, some of the body horror stuff works for me. That's as far as I'll go with it. It's not accurate to the comics whatsoever, but horror is one of my favorite genres of film. So it does, like, the transformation stuff. That's the one sequence of the film. Like I said, it doesn't feel like a Fantastic Four movie at all, in any way, shape, or form at all. But it does feel like an interesting, like, subversive take on a comic book origin story. Like, it's an interesting idea. And then Dragon, the infamous words 1 year later appear on screen, and it's all from there, you know, but...
So, okay, a couple things. Okay, one, I can see how much you cared about Fant4stic, just given how you spelled it.
Yeah, I don't even think it deserves the clever 4.
Yep. Okay, so I just want to kind of highlight that. John Kelling has a great comment saying, "Oh, Fant4stic, I want to grab a drink." So yeah, you know, this was it's so funny how history repeats itself, T, because this was yet again another desperate play to keep the rights, similar to the '94 Fantastic Four, only not as watchable or fun as a story to tell. I mean, behind the scenes or otherwise. In this case, it's just more of like, oh, it's a tragedy. Things kind of crumbled the way. This was in, like, you know, kind of succeeded more in infamy than it did in fame with the Corman version. This is more like, you know, we took the Chronicle director, you know, and again with the Chronicle kind of built-in kind of style and everything.
Like, I'm sure Josh Trank would. I do not doubt that he was hard to work with on this movie. I just want to be clear about that. I don't doubt that at all. But like I said, that doesn't change the fact that I do like Chronicle is legitimately like a super impressive debut film. So it's like, it frustrates me, man. It just frustrates me that he was put in this position. It frustrates me that supposedly he was an egomaniac on set. Just the whole situation, the whole vibe, everything about this movie is just frustrating.
Yeah, I was hyped. You believe it or not, going into the movie, I was hyped because of you know, the interview that he did with Kevin Smith on back before it was Fat Man Beyond, it was Fat Man on Batman, and like, he was talking up like a guy who really cared about it and everything, and then you had this. I mean, basically, here's what I realized though now in hindsight: like, he was talking up Act 1, which I think is what works about the movie.
I totally agree. Yeah,
that's all he would talk up, and I guess, I mean, I would assume that it was really right up to the release date he did that podcast. I would imagine, like, at least the cup, maybe
Jedi Knight. As far as I know, Chronicle, there was no one like. I don't think Chronicle had any studio interference, as far as I know.
I don't believe there was studio interference either. I mean, it was you know, it was Landis and him working.
Yeah,
on it.
Landis' script, him directing, and like, as far as I know, that was pretty much an original vision.
From what I understand, that is the case. Yeah.
Okay, well, how much of Chronicle's success, though, I mean, that's a good point. That's a good point, Ruby, for sure.
It's basically a question of how much do we stick to Landis' writing, and I think in this case, I think Trank stuck close to Landis' writing. I think that's what happened.
Right. Yeah, so that's very much a good point.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I don't fault Trank for taking a real like sci-fi stab at the Fantastic Four, which could be kind of it could be on brand or it could be something new, and again, like I was really skeptical of it when announced and everything. The fact like the Thing's not wearing pants.
Jedi
what are you
says
nuts?
The source was Superhero Rewind, so I'm going to Google this just to because I don't want to. I don't want to like not correct that if we're wrong about it.
All right, I mean, fair enough, but I don't really know how far we're gonna get with Google on that matter. But okay. But yeah, so I think really it was a case of studio input and Trank reacting badly to things that created like a whole mess of like the studio had a certain way they wanted. Basically, they wanted to kind of make it very more. I think they wanted to go an Avengers route. Trank just did not react well to it, and it kind of led just this whole mess of like, he didn't like the notes, and there were like edits made, and it was just kind of like I won't give any credence like he was acting out on set, or particularly he was like wrecking hotel rooms. I don't know what that happened. I don't think we know what happened, but it's just the point that I can assume things did not go well. And Act One presents an interesting take, like I like the idea of young Reed Richards and Dr. Doom and the bunch is having like this drunken conversation about like the NASA scientists getting the shaft, and that kind of leads to the really foolish young decision of like, hey, let's do it ourselves, like plant a flag or something, let's do it. Like I don't mind that. I think it's an interesting take on the Fantastic Four, and then the body horror thing just cinches. That's a great ending to Act One. It's not all there, but it's something to work with. Something I could forgive if the rest of the movie were good. And then again, as Tiki said, 1 year later, that dooms the movie. That's the kiss of death. When that happens, we jump.
It's like honestly, it's kind of night and day. Like it's like two different movies. Like I can see the Josh Trank stuff in Act One. I can see the Chronicle DNA in there. I really can. And I just can't after that time jump.
Yeah, I mean, just
Dragon,
nothing.
You know me, I'm always advocating for a good time jump, but not here.
The dreaded. Now we can never rest easy when we see 1 year later pop. There's always going to be like a little moment of dread where it's like we jumped to 1 year later. Nothing made sense. Reed's a fugitive for some reason. And we had that. I think the dumbest moment in the entire film is like Ben. I said something like, Ben, I'm a jerk or something. So he didn't say like, hey, I ran away because I don't want the government to interfere with me curing you guys or something. He didn't say like he doesn't explain anything at all. He says, Ben, I've been an idiot, and then Ben knocks him out. Like, that was your line after a year, not seeing your friend who you left high and dry for some reason. And then I have no idea what's happening in Act 3 with Dr. Doom. No idea whatsoever. No one does. It's crap. I mean, Tiki, at the end of the day, I'm going to tell you this. The movie was doomed because it was made for the wrong reasons, I think.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. It's very much a mirror of the Corman Fantastic Four.
Yeah, it was money and ownership before it was doing right by the characters.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I want to emphasize this. Nothing against Trank, leaning into like the sci-fi and the body horror. But
I think that's the best element of the movie, not the worst element.
I will say this though. I think leaning into those aspects, sure, but I think on the whole, like getting Trank as a director, knowing like you're hoping to get another Chronicle out of him, it's like I think going dark, the dark and grounded tone, however, that traditionally is not the Fantastic Four. Like the events, like you have a guy it's a group whose arch enemy is a guy named Doom. Sometimes they fight a giant purple guy in a giant hat, and they have an orange rock guy on their team. Dark and gritty and grounded, not really their thing ever. Has not really ever been their thing. So I'm saying if you're going to make that work, it's going to take a lot to make that work. With all that
essentially, you're going to have, if you make that work, you're going to have to just kind of like run with the body horror premise, make the whole movie about them adapting to the powers. Yeah, I mean, you got to lean into the tragedy
involved. It's got to be like a tragedy turned heroic tale. Yeah, that's the best you're going to do with that story. I mean, at least my kind of just like armchair kind of throwing something at the wall there.
Okay, let's see. And then, of course, Jedi Knight says there are too many superheroes that end with beams in the sky. Yeah. I'm glad we're done with that cliche. Hopefully.
It's like we should have retired after Avengers. Avengers earned that sky beam.
It did.
Avengers earned the sky beam. Everything else, no. Because that was like a portal. It was barely even a beam. It was like, okay, a portal of like the
Jedi Knight. Honestly, Jedi Knight. The one thing I can think of that might have been a studio edition is Dragon, do you remember in Chronicle in the final battle when we start cutting to different perspectives?
Yeah.
That might have been a studio note.
I could buy that. Okay, that sounds
that's the
right.
one thing I can think of.
All right, sure.
So, all right. Anyways, and then John Kelling says 8 minutes earlier is the new 1 year later.
Yeah, this is a Suicide Squad reference for the kids.
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm sorry. The Suicide Squad reference.
Yeah, get it right, Dragon.
Yep. Okay, so we've gone through Fan 4 Stick. I mean, unless you have anything else you want to add to it, like the fact we don't do
I said my piece.
Yeah, let's talk. So now let's talk Marvel Studios. So, folks, let's. I think we should start with the 3 things that we absolutely know. Okay, and then we'll work our way from there, however you'd like.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so we now have access to the Fantastic Four and the X-Men thanks to the whole Fox acquisition. And we confirmed John Watts is directing, and assumedly we are going to end Phase 4 with the Fantastic Four. Given that trailer, they had like thrown up all the dates and everything. It did not have a date, but it was at the end of the lineup. So presumably we are ending Phase 4 with. I'm going to be really upset if really we're going to start Phase 5 with the Fantastic Four. Really? Yep. Of course, now with the Fantastic Four, we have like 100%. We have 100% of the cosmic and space stuff at our disposal now. We can do Galactus
really quick. No.
Was it really a sky beam though?
Kind of, yeah. It was kind of a sky beam.
I mean, it was a portal before it was a sky beam.
I like Big Hero 6, but whatever that shit was at the end, no. All right.
Anyway.
That's mostly throwing shade at Callahan.
All right, so Tiki, here's 3 things. I'm going to start with the most likely to the least likely, and I'm going to turn it to you, okay?
Okay.
So here's what we know that's in the pipeline with the MCU that correlates to the Fantastic. We dropped essentially 3 references to things that we had to work with in terms of what could actually happen with the Marvel Studios FF. Okay, so the next movie, one of the next movies we're getting before this movie is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, which the assumption is we're going to have either Namor or Doctor Doom is our antagonist in that film. Both Fantastic Four characters, but
Doctor Doom antagonist for a Black Panther movie. Are you freaking kidding me, man? That'd get me so hyped up.
I want Doctor Doom. The Endgame line suggests Namor, but I want Doom.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm down for Namor as well. He's also a classic villain, but I just think Doom would. I just think it makes it he'd very much be a mirror image for Wakanda.
Absolutely. And of course, I mean, your big plot line there would be, we've lost the king and now we have another king who's kind of coming in and stirring up trouble. Anyway, slice it, even if it is Namor. I mean, that's kind of your big story there, which is very interesting. So that's the thing we know. We're pretty sure it's going to be one of those 2 guys as a bad guy, and that's pretty much like the prime place for a Fantastic Four character to show up. So beyond that, Avengers Tower was sold. Now, the assumption has always been it's going to be the Baxter Building, which is what I'm hoping for. Now, in Loki, we saw Kang, Quang Industries on it, which I think is a variant. I don't think it's the actual building. But either way, you kind of have a bit of a Fantastic Four tie-in with that, so you get something there. But hopefully the Baxter Building for simplicity's sake.
Uh-huh.
And lastly, this one, again, least likely. I really don't put any credence in this, but a lot of people are going to say it by the time the release comes about. You can just prepare for it. Kang. So Kang, technically, the one who discovered the multiverse is a descendant of Reed Richards in the comics. Now, I don't think they're going to do that in the MCU.
I don't have a problem with that.
I'm just saying in general, I don't think they're going to go that route because it just feels like too small world and too dependent on things.
Right.
We haven't even brought in Reed Richards yet. I don't think we're going to go that way, but I could be wrong. That's well, yeah, at least it's a variant of God knows how many Kangs. At least one of them is related to Reed Richards. Sure, why not? All right, so how you want to start this? You want to go talk casting? You want to say things you don't want to see? You do want to see? How would you like to do it?
I mean, as far as I'm very much interested in the legacy factor with this movie, Dragon. That's the thing that I really want to see explored. As far as the building blocks, like you said, I definitely think we can get the building blocks in other movies. But I think this movie can, I think obviously with John Watts directing, it's probably going to have a very similar tone to the Homecoming movies, which is fine. And honestly, I think that tone fits the Fantastic Four a little bit more than it does Spider-Man. because I've always leaned more on the more kind of like dramatic pathos side of Spider-Man as a character. Whereas the Fantastic Four, I really do think their strength is kind of like the more sitcom-y stuff in a lot of ways. So just in terms of the general vibe, that's kind of what I'm going for. I mean, as far as casting goes, I honestly don't, like, outside of like the big one that everyone's always saying, but even then I don't really want him to like stay, like, I don't want that guy to Krasinski. I don't want John Krasinski to you know, get sucked into like like an endless MCU contract he can't get out of. So I don't know. As far as casting, Dragon, honestly, Cranston is Lumpkin. I know you threw that out there, but I'm still down for it.
Can you imagine Cranston as Galactus?
Yeah, I could. I mean, honestly, I kind of like the Willie Lumpkins casting more, just because I feel like Cranston as Galactus would just kind of like, he'd just be doing another Walt at that point, which is honestly kind of something I want to see him get away from.
Well, it would be a little different. Walt's is going to be a giant purple planet eater.
Yeah, it'd be a giant purple planet, essentially given the "I am the one that knocked" / say my name speech. That's right. What it would be.
Well, yeah, definitely say my name in that case. Yeah. So let me hit you. Let me hit you with a couple things here. So very fundamental, simple. Here's what I think the challenge is going to be in doing the Fantastic Four again, and what I want to be done. So first and foremost, Dr. Doom. We need to do Dr. Doom right. I think it's the most paramount thing we got to do after all this time, because essentially he's like the Darth Vader of Marvel. That's really what Dr. Doom is. You know, even Jack Kirby when he saw Star Wars, because you got to remember, Dr. Doom predates Darth Vader. We kind of saw a lot of similarities there. Wait, imposing guy in a mask, very iconic, very menacing. I think someone owes me a check here. Come on, guys. But yeah, I think Dr. Doom, getting him right after all these movies would be paramount.
If they don't, it's just like game over.
Yeah,
honestly,
if we botch Dr. Doom in the MCU, all hope is lost with that character. I'm convinced.
All hope is lost for the Fantastic Four on film if we botch Dr. Doom in the MCU. I'm gonna go that far.
I'll go with you there. So here, in terms of how we reintroduce the Fantastic Four, I think we go one of two ways, very simply. The challenge being we either have to explain where they've been, which would lead into like the whole, you know, they're time traveling from the 60s, they got caught in the dimension or something, or we have to do the origin again post Endgame. Because those, you have to explain where they've been all this time, or we have a good explanation for where they've been all this time. That's the challenge. They have to make a decision on one of those.
Which honestly, I think you can take that and make an interesting plot out of it. So I don't really think that, like, it's a challenge, but I kind of look at it as like a gratifying creative writing prompt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, my buddy on the so actually some of my buddies here from the Geekvolution streams. One of my buddies who's not here, Kelvin O'Rourke. He always pitched to me the '60s. You know, their whole they went on a they're from the '60s, the period piece idea where they get trapped in a dimension, maybe the negative zone, maybe the quantum realm, for all we know. Do an Ant-Man tie-in. They get trapped somewhere, then they emerge after the Endgame mess, and it's like, oh man, where have we been all this time? And that's how you get your perfect off the page, you know, Fantastic Four.
Oh yeah, totally.
Which I'm all for that. I mean, I'm down for that.
As long as it's not just a repeat of Cap, I'm all for that. Yeah.
That's the tricky part, though.
It is the tricky part. Yeah.
So what I really want, honestly, what I'd recommend if we go that route, in terms of, like, you know, we have to explain where they've been all this time. If we go that route, just pitching it would be Reed Richards tried to realize like the Guardians of the Galaxy spaceship technology. Like, you know, the whole, remember how Rocket and the gang jump, like, you know, they
oh yeah, sure.
Like, what if we tried to realize that on Earth, like pre-Captain Marvel? You know, like we just they tried, they went for a jump which basically would take the Guardians like 5 minutes, took them probably like, I don't know, like at least 50 years or 60 years.
I like that, yeah.
And then maybe they pass some cosmic radiation just in the rudimentary way they did from Earth versus what we would have this like patented, like, you know, in every spaceship in, you know, in space. And that would lead to the detour, which would lead us to post Endgame. Now, you and I speculate this like crazy during WandaVision, but if we want to do the origin just like now, we do it through Sword. I think that's the easiest way to do it. They're astronauts as part of the Sword program, right?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, that's to me is like that's the either or and that fork in the road for me in terms of how you broach that. Galactus, we cannot do him as a cloud. Just that's all we just say. Galactus,
no, obviously.
Don't do him as a
honestly,
cloud.
I really like you can't do Galactus period until at least a Fantastic Four 2 in the MCU. Honestly,
yeah, you got to build to Galactus now. Tiki, now believe me, if had this been done, we would have done this perhaps instead.
And honestly, as far as Silver Surfer goes, just give me a damn Silver Surfer movie.
Which I could absolutely, yeah, could absolutely buy it. Now there's a story they're doing now for the 60th anniversary. It's not done yet, hence the reason we're not talking about it. It's called Fantastic Four Life Story. Now Tiki, they had a really good take on Galactus in that story, at least so far the way they're telling it. Basically, Reed Richards, he's the one warning everyone that Galactus.
Hold on, really quick. Jedi Knight. There was good reason for people to think Reed Richards was going to show up in WandaVision. Man,
there was.
Yeah. I like honestly, I don't mind the Ralph Boner thing nearly as much as I mind that. Honestly. Because the Ralph Boner thing, like I can appreciate a good troll, but that was just kind of like that was like a lazy, just like, hey, it was like a lazy way to inflate social media speculation is what that was.
Honestly. It's like, hey, there's a sitcom joke versus like, hey, we have a really good opportunity for the FF here, and just no.
Right, exactly. All right.
But yeah, there's a story, there's a Fantastic Four Life Story, and pretty much the way they're broaching Galactus in that is Reed Richards knows that Galactus is coming, and everyone thinks he's crazy for saying there's this giant.
That's cool.
And they, like even Tony Stark saying, "Reed, I respect you, man, but you don't like. What are you talking about? This giant purple guy coming to eat the plants? Ridiculous." That's I think that'd be a cool take.
We already handled the purple guy, Reed. It's fine.
Yeah, like, no, there's another one. He's got a tall hat. So something like that. I mean, it's the idea of building Galactus long term like that. Maybe Reed Richards knows that he's coming, and he doesn't have proof of it until the Silver Surfer warns them that he's coming. Imagine how great a moment that would be.
I mean, like I said, Drag, what I'm picturing is like I'm picturing Fantastic Four is like the end of Phase 4, and then Phase 5. Which I honestly think this would fit really well into Phase 5, given, Phase 5 is going to have stuff like Blade. We do a standalone Silver Surfer movie with Galactus. And then maybe towards the end of Phase 5, we do a Fantastic Four 2. Maybe Galactus becomes the main villain by the end of Phase 5 for the Avengers. I don't know. That's just kind of like long-term thinking on my end.
I'm down for that. And of course, we already mentioned the crossover potential with Spider-Man, which I think is going to be a huge missed opportunity if we don't have, which makes me want a Human Torch the same age.
I will say with Spider-Man, I don't want the movie to just be the Fantastic, the Human Torch and Spider-Man movie. That's what I don't. That's one big thing I don't want. As much as I like that dynamic in the comics, that's one thing I hate about Homecoming is that it's essentially a Spider-Man Iron Man movie, and I don't like that.
I agree, but let me explain. Like overall, what I want from the Fantastic Four in the MCU, very overall, is I want the Fantastic Four to be the new linchpin and kind of focal point in the MCU. Like, we're always talking about who's going to be the next lead of the MCU. Like now that Tony Stark and Captain Steve Rogers are gone, I would love if Reed Richards. I mean, if theoretically Reed Richards could be the next Tony Stark, I could see that. Being the smartest guy in the Marvel universe, second to Tony Stark. Now that he's gone, and if we can get a movie off the ground proper, I think they could absolutely be that linchpin. Just given what they have been historically, Phase 4 and beyond, we need stability. We need classic Marvel. The Fantastic Four could be that anchor. Like you end. The end of Phase 4 could be like, with this movie being like, okay, how are we going to end Phase 4? End it with not an Avengers, but our Avengers 2012 equivalent would be the introduction of the Fantastic Four, which we could historically never get right until now, hopefully.
Sure. Okay, going into some comments on that guy. I think they need to cast a black cloud for Galactus. We need more representation. We have too many white clouds in movies.
Yeah.
Clever, that guy. Clever.
Let's get Al Roker to play him, yeah.
Oh, God.
He knows weather. He can do it.
What do you think of this one, Dragon?
Okay, what if the astronauts for a burgeoning Litverian space flight program that's a passion project for Victor Von Doom who is a monarch that wants to amass scientific and magic knowledge. Rohit, that's a brilliant idea. That's very close to what I want for Dr. Doom. Let me very simply, I'm not going to go like a whole meander on or anything about it, but simply what I want from Dr. Doom, which I think that could very easily fit into really well, is I've always pitched, what if Wakanda got a bad rap? That's how you do Latveria. That's how you do Dr. Doom. Like, what if you had a monarch that is perceived almost like a monarchy that's perceived as North Korea? It's like, what if they were actually, it's like you had Stark level tech in this place, but they don't share it. Why don't they share it?
Right.
And Dr. Doom's reason is like, well, have you
kind
seen
of like a more outwardly shady version of the themes of the first Black Panther movie.
Yeah, like what if like there was judgment upon Wakanda? That's basically like, hey, why aren't you sharing this? Why did you hide this? I don't know if we can trust you. Have you seen Iron Man 2? Have you seen Ultron? Tony Stark's dropping cities and his tech's getting into the hands of the Russians? You want me to share my technology, you irresponsible people? No, you're crazy. And that's the thing. You introduce him via Black Panther or something, and then maybe that leads into a Fantastic Four movie, which you could do a legitimate Dr. Doom has respect for Reed Richards, and then they kind of have a differing ideology where it's like, hey, fly this ship for me, go into space, help me prove to the world Latveria isn't a bad place. Sure, you'll fund my research. Sure, why wouldn't I? Then cosmic radiation. This is a nightmare. My life is ruined, and I'm mad about that. Also, there's been speculation from Falcon Winter Soldier. We talked about this a little bit, that Latveria, Sokovia has been cannibalized by other places. Perhaps Sokovia was cannibalized into Latveria or by Latveria.
I like that. I like that. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then also Jedi Knight points out, coming soon to the MCU, Spider-Man and his amazing friends. I actually have a funny story about that, Dragon.
Oh, really? What do you got?
It was like early morning on Facebook, and I was just kind of like scrolling, being the boomer that I am. I was scrolling on Facebook, and I was like half awake, and I just saw the words Spider-Man trailer. And Dragon, it was just like a bolt of it. I was like, oh shit, I was like, oh my god, oh, it happened, and then I was like, I quickly realized like, oh, it's a Playhouse Disney Spider-Man. Okay,
yeah,
never mind.
Yeah, I would have warned you about that if you asked me, but wouldn't it be great if they legitimately did that, though? It's been so long to bring back, Spider-Man His Amazing Friends. It was a good show. It's a charming show. It wasn't like the best Spider-Man show.
Spider-Man, it is a thing.
Well, you mean like the Playhouse one, right?
Well, yeah, the Playhouse Disney. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be in the spirit of the original show, but there is going to be a show called Spider-Man.
No, I know that. I was saying, what if they did something a little closer to,
I know.
Spider-Man, he's in the random, he's friends with Iceman and Firestar. It's cool. It's a random. I like it. But let's see. But speaking of Spider-Man's Amazing Friends, so again, I want a young Johnny Storm to be the same age as Tom Holland. In terms of casting, I'd like someone like Joe.
Solid.
I'll tell you, I have two ideas off the top of my head. Joe Keery, perhaps, as the Human Torch. But I'll tell you who I think would be perfect for it, though. I've always said, because basically, if you're casting someone who's similar to Spider-Man, just because they're buddies and they're friends, I say if Tom Holland, God forbid, ever got hit by a bus or Sony says he can't come out and play in the future with Spider-Man. In a heartbeat, I would say cast Logan Lerman from Hunter. He's my guy. Sure. I want him as Spider-Man, but if we keep Tom Holland as Spider-Man, I'd say get him as Johnny Storm. He could absolutely be that part.
I'll sign off on you. Yeah, totally.
So obviously Krasinski's the front runner for Reed Richards.
They should have Tom Holland play both Spider-Man and Johnny Storm.
That'd be funny.
I mean, honestly, he could do it.
I know we all want Krasinski as Reed Richards. Of course, it's really funny.
Honestly, Dragon, it's just a meme. I don't even think he'd be the best choice for the role. I really don't.
Really,
no, I don't even know where the meme came from. I don't want him to do it because, like I said, I don't want him that guy is a uniquely talented person who I don't want locked into a years-long MCU contract, It'd be like Joaquin Phoenix joining the MCU or something.
Right. There was talk of him almost doing that with Doctor Strange.
I know.
But you know, the thing with Krasinski though is it's
Jared Leto. Like, weirdly, remember when I was like all on board for Jared Leto to be Doctor Strange? Good thing that didn't happen.
Yeah, now you got him as Morbius.
Right?
Now you got him as Morbius, buddy.
Oh man, like God, like in retrospect, yeah.
Yeah, but the thing with Krasinski is like he does that show on Amazon. I think it's it's like the Tom Clancy thing on Amazon. But Jack Ryan,
You could be talking about like 5 different.
I know. I'm pretty sure it's Jack Ryan. Jack Ryan's the thing. And he plays an analyst in that show, and that honestly, that's why I could see him as Reed Richards. I can see him playing a smart guy because he's a really smart analyst in that show. But the fact that he almost.
I'm sorry, Rohit. Yeah, Dragon. I don't think you've seen Booksmart, but yeah, Rohit, I would sign off on that. Yeah, that's a solid call. That's a solid call for sure.
Do you think he could pull it off, Dickie?
I think he could, man. Like I don't really, I haven't really seen him in anything except Booksmart. But Drake, really, Booksmart is a fantastic film. It's easily one of the best comedies of the 2010s. So. I probably should have found a spot for it in my top 100 movies of the decade, if I'm being honest. Rainn Wilson is Doctor Doom. I could honestly weirdly see that working.
I mean, I think he has the range for it, but he's gonna be, if they ever announce that, he'd just be crucified. Like, Rainn Wilson is Doctor Doom. Are you insane?
I think the temptation there would just be to be like, oh, he's evil Dwight. He's like Dwight was like, like the middle management villain, and this is like the hardcore. But it's like, no, like you said, it's like I do think he has the range where he would be scary and not just a Dwight kind of like egotistical kind of.
Rainn Wilson is a good actor. I mean, people kind of forget that with The Office and everything. Not that he's not good in The Office, but everyone just puts him in that box. So I mean, let me hit you. I'm going to throw out some ideas I had for Reed Richards, like Adam Driver.
Solid. I don't necessarily know if he's got the comedy chops.
Well, that's Mr. Fantastic really isn't a funny guy that much, though.
I guess, yeah, you're right. He is more the straight man of the group.
Yeah.
I don't know. Honestly, Adam Driver is another one where it's like I don't necessarily think his skill set is like he's more of like a prestigious like. I don't know. It's a solid choice, Dragon, but I just like with the external factors, I just don't want to see someone like Adam Driver locked into an MCU contract.
Okay, let me.
I'm sorry that we have to play this meta game with this, but it's kind of the way it is.
Okay, let me hit you with another one. Now, of course, I want Michael Sheen, but I know that's never going to happen. I know that if you ask me like because Reed Richards is an older guy, I cast Michael Sheen. That'd be me though. But here's a serious one though. Cillian Murphy.
Cillian Murphy solid, but
don't tell me that.
This I think is perfect. Honestly,
that's not bad. We need to get.
I like that a lot. Joseph Gordon-Levitt for Mr. Fantastic.
He could be really good. Yeah, he could be good.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt is someone who it's like he's the type of actor that I actually think would work really well in the MCU.
And John Kelling has an excellent suggestion too, but I want him for Batman, so that's why I'm going to poo-poo that.
John Hamm is a decent choice for Mr. Fantastic.
Yes, yeah, he is. But I want.
But, I mean, honestly, John Hamm's the type of actor where it's like he's a decent choice for a lot of things.
He's kind of like a second Cranston to a degree.
He is. Yeah. And then as far as the Thing goes, that guy, this is going to sound like I'm not just saying this because of the mocap thing. I honestly think Andy Serkis could make a really interesting Thing.
Well, I certainly think he has the range to play, just given what he's done.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm saying it more like I'm not just saying it because it's like, oh, Andy Serkis is the guy that you get for all the effects-heavy roles. But it's like, no, honestly, I'm saying it just because, like you said, it's like he's got, like, he's got such a range. It's like I really think he could pull off the whole, the whole, like, tragic soul trapped in this, like, this weird body type stuff. Like, I don't know. I could see it.
Oh, Rohit has a really good fun fact here. He says JGL was also in the running for Ant-Man Star-Lord. Because I remember Glenn Howerton almost got Star-Lord, and it's so funny that Krasinski almost got Captain America. So if you, yeah, it would be interesting to see. But honestly,
no, I mean, Rohit, like I said, like, like certain actors, like, I definitely think that Adam Driver, Dragon, hold on to your hats. Adam Driver, like, you don't know about any of the movies that Adam Driver is going to be in yet, but he is about to have a year.
Really?
Like, he is about to have a year. Like, I would be shocked if Adam Driver doesn't walk away this year with at least one Oscar nomination.
Okay.
I'll say that much. I've just been kind of closely following Oscar stuff, so
let me throw you some Ben Grimm.
Okay.
Honestly, the person I'd go for to be an unconventional choice, I'd go for Drew Powell. You remember Drew Powell at all?
Nah.
Remember Butch Gilzine from Gotham?
Oh yeah, of course.
I'd go for him as the thing.
Oh, that's solid. That's solid.
Beyond that, if I were like pressed for like if you had any other choices, Patrick Warburton almost was the thing during the '94 Fantastic Four.
You can't go wrong. That would be Patrick Warburton in the MCU. I'm honestly surprised he's not in the MCU right now. Now that I think about it,
technically he was on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but then again,
that doesn't count. Ben McKenzie for Ben Grimm. I don't know if you're just making a pun, John Killing.
I think that might be it. Oh, but here's some let me throw you some other casting though.
Okay.
Terry Crews.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, for sure.
Beyond Terry Crews, I mean, I think the ambitious choice.
James.
No, no, he can't even act across Bugs Bunny.
The only thing he can act across is weirdly Amy Schumer for some weird reason.
Yeah.
Like who would think?
Yeah. You know who I think the ambitious choice would be? We need to get more voice actors, put them in the big leagues. It's been a systemic problem for everything.
Well, I've always loved your casting of Hank Azaria for Uncle Ben.
Yeah, I still stand by that. But you know who I would also put in the running for the thing? John DiMaggio.
I could see it. I totally see it.
What about Joe Manganiello? What do you think about him? You think he
Hold on. Amy Schumer is the thing.
Okay, well, yeah, there is a she thing, technically.
I never kind of set myself up for that.
I never liked she thing, though.
I actually like this. Okay, I like this. I like this a lot.
Of course you like this. Yeah, of course you like this.
I'm sorry, man. I sign off. I just want Adam Sandler to do anything that's not just like getting the gang together to go on vacation, I want him to try. He's so good when he tries.
I will entertain it just for novelty's sake here. Adam Sandler could bring. Here's the thing has to be.
Adam Sandler could really bring the sad clown energy, man.
Well, I was thinking more so is that you need a New Yorker to be the thing, and Adam Sandler could convey the New Yorker aspect. I could see that.
Also, the Jewish quality.
Yeah, that too as well. That's what I'm saying. You need kind of the guy who's the Jew from the Bronx, essentially.
You know what? No, this is right. Adam Sandler's now my top choice.
Oh, come on, your top choice.
I'm dead serious. I'm not even joking.
All right,
Dragon. You don't give him enough credit.
I've watched
Uncle
these
Ben,
movies.
I don't know about Uncle Ben. I couldn't. I don't know about Uncle Ben.
Yeah, I would not cast him as Uncle Ben.
Again, Hank Azaria, I think, is a really solid.
Azaria is absolutely my guy.
All right, Jedi Knight. Now you're just being silly.
All right, let's see. Sue Storm, of course. Now here's the thing: if they get Krasinski, they might have a shot at Blunt. But Blunt has said she does not want to do a superhero movie. So if they don't get Krasinski, there's no way she's going to be Sue Storm.
I mean, having said that, she'd be a super solid Sue Storm.
I absolutely agree with you.
She's got the comedy chops. She's got the action chops.
Yeah, she's absolutely. Beyond that, I mean, I don't really have strong opinions for Sue Storm. But I mean, the only two off the top of my head I'd go with.
I don't have
Beyond.
strong opinions on Sue Storm just because I don't have strong opinions of her as a character. So.
Well, that's the thing. That's the unfortunate because in the comics she's a really strong character, but unfortunately the movies have not made the best case for her because of Jessica Alba.
Yeah.
But I mean, what would you think of Amanda Seyfried or Kristen Bell as
Seyfried would definitely be good, for sure. I could totally see Seyfried.
That would be my top pick if Emily Blunt were not in the role.
Honestly, this is going to be super unconventional. But what if we went like with a more? This is going to be super unconventional and unpopular. And yes, I am just being a fanboy, but Christian Shaw.
Yeah, I don't think that would fly.
No, but just think about it. Like, she could be like the nerdy scientist type, though. It'd be like a completely different take on the character.
I'll tell you the better character to put her as, though.
Okay.
Alicia Masters, the Thing's girlfriend.
I could totally. Oh yeah, I could totally see that for sure.
She'd have to play blind, but I think she could do it.
All right.
Let's see. We got to talk Doctor Doom. We have some good ideas for Doctor Doom.
Go ahead.
Okay, first and foremost,
I just want to reiterate, Dragon, that we're past the hour and a half mark. So as much as we could just spend a whole hour doing this stuff, we do have to wrap up.
Well, again, this is real. This is pretty much our ending. So we'll just basically let me throw.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, like, we could literally go on for hours with fan casting. So
okay, well, let me hit you with some Doom, and then we'll wrap up. Okay, so Giancarlo Esposito, obviously my top choice if you had a Doctor Doom.
I don't know.
If you're gonna give him any role in the MCU, let's be honest, though. Come on.
I don't want to typecast the man,
but he's really good. And Doctor Doom he's the hero of his own story.
I'm super hesitant just because I think the man can be more than just a villain on screen.
Okay, well, other roles then, other actors. So sorry, Jason Isaacs. I think he'd be great as Doctor Doom.
I think he'd be great too. Jason Isaacs doesn't get enough credit.
Isaacs would be great as Doctor Doom. Honestly, he would. Second, if Giancarlo's off the table, he would be my first choice. But beyond that, Ray Fiennes.
I mean, I'm honestly still kind of sticking with my Keith David idea.
Why didn't you? I thought you threw out Keith David for the Silver Surfer, though.
Oh, you're right. I did throw him out.
Yeah.
You know what? Keith David as Doctor Doom would work too. Just Keith David.
Yeah.
Dragon, the man's got a beautiful voice. What do you want me to do?
Sure. Well, I'm thinking like Ray Fiennes or Titus Welliver would be my other kind of. I bring up Titus Welliver because he in the '94 film he was in the running to be Doctor Doom. He would have made an excellent Doctor Doom. At that time, especially. But I mean, that's what I'm saying. I think Ray Fiennes, he has the voice for it. He's got the Shakespearean quality. Doom always has a Shakespearean quality. You know,
I think all four Doctor Doom would work.
But it's kind of been. I don't know. I think guys like Fassbender, but obviously the choice for Doctor Doom is Mads Mikkelsen, but he's off the table.
I mean, I wouldn't even go as far as to say he's the choice. But...
Really? I mean, back then we were really high on Mads Mikkelsen for Doom. Really?
I don't know.
I mean, it's fire. I would put him as Doctor Doom. Okay, it's fine.
I'm just honestly, Dragon, I've seen a lot. Like, I don't want to say this in an insulting way, but I feel like I've seen more range from Mads than you have.
Well, yeah, which is why I think he'd be good for Doom. I mean, look, fair enough. Let's see. Let's see if we can shout any comments, and then we'll wrap this puppy. We'll take the Fantastic Car home into the sunset.
Oh God, Dwayne Johnson is the thing.
Kind of the obvious choice.
Yeah, no, just Dragon. Honestly, I feel like at this point the comments have kind of devolved into memes. So,
well, they're fun to me.
Fine, but.
Yeah. All right, well, let's shout everyone out. We'll ride this. We'll ride our 4-part car home.
Okay, yeah. So, guys, I just want to point out, I wasn't even sure how much traction doing this would be, considering how bad all of the movies are. But you guys killed it in the comments tonight, guys. I really appreciate it. So, John Kelling, Jedi Knight, that guy, Broheath Dar. With very brief cameos from Joshua Thomas, and I believe Monkey also popped up at one point, but it doesn't matter. If Monkey did pop up, he knows I acknowledged him. So yeah, once again, Roheath, John Kelling, that guy, Jedi Knight, Joshua Thomas. Am I missing anyone?
No, I think I believe we've gotten. Oh, did you mention Atomic Beast?
No, I didn't. Thank you.
Atomic Beast, yeah.
And also, this makes me laugh. TJ Martinez is Dr. Doom.
You joke, but he does wear a welding mask.
No, I know that's where the joke comes from.
Also, Captain Logan is Reed Richards. I'd sign off on that, guess.
All right, anyways.
All right, well, it's been fun, folks. Again, happy 60th to the Fantastic Four. 60 more years, maybe more.
All right, have a good night, everyone. Thanks a lot.
It's clobbering time. Flame on!